Once a volume of that chapter, we had started that chapter and we have started.
This is a tech.
How do we? You are no, but is how do we fall in there in your question? I don't
Yes,
think so.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
They are still teaching. They are teaching. Why do we fall in? Are they teaching?
Yes, ma'am. But ma'am, it is there in our syllabus.
Huh?
It is there in our syllabus.
Did your teacher mention that is she going to keep that chapter for your coming test?
But ma'am, it's not told yet. Ma'am, there was syllabus, sir?
Ma'am, she cancelled the 5K in class.
Huh.
It's not there. But this chapter we finished. Today only.
Today, okay. I don't need to finish that. Because there's a lot about this chapter. Chalo, keep signing. So what did we? How much did we complete? What was the last topic we did? Dekho.
Ma'am, we did the back which I personal and community. Last class, ma'am, I was not there. Ma'am, I was not there last class.
Last class, were you there? You were there?
No, ma'am.
Last lecture call taught? You were there. What was the last topic taught? Till where we did, because I think there was a gap of almost 2-3 weeks.
Ma'am, it was like
we were doing infectious agents.
Infectious agents. Okay, that table we were doing.
Actually, we completed it.
We done.
we started the yeah.
Okay, now take out your notebook. Take out your notebook. Take out your notebooks. We had already completed, till this part of the chapter, that is the other day we were doing this. Those of you who have your volume, take out, turn to this chapter. The other day we were talking about what are the different types of infectious agents. We were studying this. Different types of infectious agents and what type of diseases do they cause. And at least one symptom for each. Take out your notebook, write down 5 questions that you are going to answer. Fatafat likho, number 1. Number 1.
If why do we fall in the class? Chalo fast. Those of you who don't have, did you get your books? Where's this one? Did you get your book? If you don't have, you can refer this table.
agent.
No talking.
I'm telling you. He's asking what are agents.
Nice. He's blessed that he got you in his life.
Sorry, ma'am?
No, nothing. Get started with your work.
On the diseases, can we revise once more because I was asking.
No, not a problem. I want you to start writing down the question answers. I'm showing you the table also. You can go through the table and write. Later, you have to go through all these question answers. The important ones you should know. Some answers they will not know. Symptoms which is not there in the table. I'll give you 5 minutes to go through the questions. See how many answers you know, and after that I'll ask you. What is the answer for the first question? Name the agent that causes typhoid. Bacteria. Mention one symptom. What is one symptom of typhoid?
Fever.
Fluctuating fever. Sometimes high, sometimes low. So that is what you are supposed to write. Fluctuating fever. Fluctuating fever. So that's one of the most common symptoms of typhoid. Two diseases caused by virus.
Chickenpox and common cold.
Dengue fever, chicken pox,
COVID.
COVID. Now COVID also comes in the list, no? अभी तुम्हारे book में COVID नहीं है, but you can add. And common cold, influenza also, and AIDS also. I made you in the last part of the chapter. You have that also. AIDS also.
And can you give the brief of the starting of the chapter?
As I explained in between, I'll tell you. The entire chapter you were absent.
Yes, I was absent for 2 months.
Why?
Because I had a surgery, so I was
Okay. Done. Number 2. Number 3. What type of organisms are responsible for causing malaria? Type of organisms I'm asking you. What type of organisms? What type of organisms are responsible for causing malaria? What to write? Protozoans. Correct. What type of organisms are responsible for causing malaria? Protozoans. They are known as protozoan, and the causative organism is known as Plasmodium. Type of organism, it's not a bacteria nor a virus, but it's a protozoan. Protozoan. Right, one common feature between cholera and diarrhea. Cholera and diarrhea, one common feature. What am I supposed to write? There are many. There are 5, 6 common features that you can write. One common feature between cholera and diarrhea. Cholera and diarrhea are caused by virus or bacteria? Cholera and diarrhea. Look at the table. All of you, at least these common names you should be very much associated with. Cholera and diarrhea, when we are talking about cholera and diarrhea, if you see, they are basically caused by bacteria. Also, another common feature that you can write is that these are waterborne. In the next part of the chapter, we are going to study this. Cholera and diarrhea, these are both waterborne diseases, meaning the infection is caused by contamination of water when you consume contaminated water. So any of these 2 points as of now you can write. So what is a common feature? Right, one common feature between cholera and diarrhea, you may write down 2 points. Number 1, what is that 1 point we said? Both are bacterial diseases. They are caused by a bacteria. That's the first point, caused by a bacteria. What is the second point? They are waterborne diseases. Waterborne diseases, these are waterborne. What is the meaning of waterborne? Waterborne means the organism is carried inside our body along with contaminated water. Organism carried inside our body along with contaminated water. Waterborne disease. The last one I gave you is number 5. What is AIDS? What is AIDS and which type of cells of the body do they affect? What is AIDS? What is the full form of AIDS? Full form of AIDS is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. What type of cells of the body do they affect? WBCs. They affect WBC cells. They affect the WBCs. What type of cells of the body do they affect? They affect the WBCs. Helping him writing. You?
I am helping. I was supposed to
ठंडी लग रही है तो from next class wear a sweater and come. इधर आ जाओ सीधा उठ के. If you are so much interested with Aryan, Arman, तो एक काम करो अगले दिन से अरमान के घर पे चले जाओ. ठीक है ना? Come here. I'm not writing any Greek, Latin or Spanish on the board. I'm writing simple English. What is the difficulty in not understanding?
I was helping answer.
Huh?
I was helping answer.
Who is helping whom?
He was helping.
Why? What I'm saying is that not clear? अगर clear नहीं है, you may ask me twice. You all are simply making a mockery, coming in the classrooms and doing all this. Done. All of you are done with the answers. All of you are done with the answers now. The next section of the chapter that we are going to study now is about the methods of spread. Now, already I introduced this concept of method of spread. Already we have been talking about this, that these are waterborne diseases. Now, what are some of the methods of spread? When we talk about methods of spread, meaning how do the organism enter our body? Number 1, some organisms may enter our body along with the air that we breathe in. Can you give me an example? Don't say corona. It sounds very horrible. Influenza, correct. Or something like pneumonia, or something like tuberculosis, or common cold, cough, influenza we say. So now these are something when somebody is sneezing and coughing right in front of your face and showering you all the germs. And in just few hours, that starts developing in your lungs, in your nasal passages. So what's happening at that time? Are we not getting infected by inhaling the contaminated air? Yes. So that is a concept of bacteria virus. Along with this also, are we not affected by various other different type of pollutants in the air? Can you give me one particular name of a disease where by polluting infected air or contaminated air, not exactly infected, contaminated air also we may suffer from certain type of diseases?
If there is like
Asthma. So asthma is a condition. Yes, whenever certain individuals are very much sensitive to such type of pollutants, like the pollen, like the contaminants, the soot particles in the air, and whenever they breathe, they may have various different type of problems there. So this is what we understand as airborne. So what are some of the methods of transport that any particular type of disease-causing germ we talk about? The modes of contamination or the modes of transport of a disease-causing organism, the modes of communication, the modes of transport of a different type of an organism inside our body, the modes of communication when we are talking about infection that we are talking about. The first one that we talk about is airborne. If I have to understand waterborne, can you tell me two methods how the water gets polluted first of all, or how the water will get contaminated? Contaminated with what? Are we talking about actually contamination by the industrial effluents and all? No, we are talking about contamination of water by variety of germs now. We are talking about contamination of water by variety of germs. And how is it possible that we take in the contaminated water? In what different ways, methods we may take in the contaminated water? Simply the water that runs inside our homes, and if you don't treat them, can we fall prey to certain diseases? Yes. So that's the reason we boil the water, or we treat the water with electricity, or we treat the water with alum or chlorine, or etc., different methods before drinking. Before drinking, we have to make sure that it does not have a variety of organisms. If it has, then we may fall prey to various organisms. No, so under this category, what type of diseases may come in? Under this category, certain type of diseases like diarrhea, dysentery, cholera, and jaundice. Along with this, so now that we are talking about variety of diseases spread by the waterway, now we talk about contamination of foodborne. Water and foodborne almost the same type of diseases that we talk about. How can our food get contaminated? Flies. Whenever the food has been spread, whenever the food has been laid on our tables, maybe we are not bit aware, or maybe the food is already laid and we are not around. So what happens? Just a minute and the fly invades that food. As it is, the food is contaminated. Quite a number of times when we happen to consume food which is uncovered for a long time, or the roadside food, etc., or food in ill-maintained places, quite a number of times when we happen to visit some restaurant, that time also sometimes we may suffer from some indigestion, etc.
Food poisoning does not
Food poisoning is a different concept. Food poisoning means when you are consuming food which has already passed its expiry date, where additional microbes as it is developed, because whenever basically you consume packed food poisoning majorly is because of that. When you are consuming packed food, tinned food, that already has a shelf life, and the shelf life is already over. So whenever I'm talking about any type of a packed food, should we still consume it till that date of expiry as it is written on that packet? How do you do? What do you do? The expiry date is written till 30th of August. Actually, should we use it till 30th of August?
No.
Scientifically, we should not actually use it. Almost 2 days, we should always remember that before 2 days, adequate amount of microbes must have started growing.
But like bread only has a life of 2 days.
bread and buns and all these different type of food also basically will have the milk packets and all. They will have only the expiry date within a period of some 3 to 4 days. So that is okay. But whenever you are talking about the juice and whenever you are talking about some packed food which has already been packed a month before, and they are talking about 30th of August, 31st of August, you have to take it 2 days prior, because already adequate amount of germs and uh, additional microbes must have started developing there. Fungi, especially a large number of the bacteria, fungi. So foodborne, we again understand what are some of the common diseases that we may contract by contamination of food and by consumption of contaminated food. Again, we talk about diseases something like the jaundice and the cholera and the diarrhea and the dysentery, etc., etc. Then the other is when we are talking about vectors, by the way of vectors. Now, this is a definition that you have to always understand. The definition you should know how to write. What are vectors? Say suppose a person who is suffering from malaria, if the person is sneezing or coughing in front of a healthy person, does the healthy person get contracted? Not at all. A person who is suffering from malaria, again, is sitting with a person and sharing food with a healthy person, then also the chances of contraction is not there. Then when would that healthy person be contracted? When will the healthy person have a scare of getting the same condition? Only when, if a mosquito happens to bite the patient and again inject that infected blood into the body of a healthy person. The mosquito takes a small meal of blood from the patient's body and introduces that contaminated blood into the body of a patient, of a healthy individual. If that is what has happened, then only the healthy person starts suffering from the same symptoms. Otherwise, by sharing clothes and eating food together, and also by chance, if the person happens to sneeze and cough, all these are good. All these are reasons not good enough to spread the infection, especially now that I'm talking about malaria. So in this case, what are we understanding? In this case, we are saying that this mosquito is actually helping as a bridge, as a carrier, the disease causing germ from the patient to the healthy individual's body. So such type of an organism, like the mosquitoes, like the cockroaches, like the flies, house flies majorly, these are always carriers of various different type of diseases. Either they may deposit on our food, water, or directly introduce them inside our body. So such type of organisms, what is the definition? Such type of organisms which help in transmitting the disease causing germ from a patient to a healthy individual, they are called vectors. What are some of the common examples of vectors? Houseflies, mosquitoes, cockroaches, rats. Rats are also common vectors. Rats are also common vectors. Write down the definition first. Vectors. Vectors. Write down. Vectors. Vectors are a group of organisms. Vectors are a group of organisms. Vectors are a group of organisms. Vectors are a group of organisms that transmit disease-causing germs. That transmit disease-causing germs from a patient. From a patient to a healthy person or a healthy individual. Patient or from a patient to a healthy individual. From a patient to a healthy individual. From a patient to a healthy individual. So now that you remember, give an example. Vector. Malaria is not the vector. Malaria is not the vector. Don't write that. Students always make this type of mistake. Vector क्या है? एक organism जो पेशेंट की बॉडी से जर्म को लाके हेल्दी ऑर्गेनिज्म की बॉडी में इंट्रोड्यूस करता है. That is a vector. So what is the definition you have written? It is an organism itself. It can be an organism. It is another type of an organism. Vector is a group of an organism which can transmit The disease-causing organism from the body of patient to healthy individual. Right? Examples. What are some examples? Mosquito is a vector. Rats are vectors. Cockroaches are vectors. Houseflies are vectors. Likho. Likha. What's your name? Huh? Vihan. Mara friend, eh? Same school? No?
Mosquitoes, rats, flies, and
Are I'm talking to them. Why you are talking about mosquitoes in between? Which school you are from? Oh, are your
He was
friend?
my friend. He
Ah.
was in drive first.
Yeah.
Oh, so old friend you got. Now see, UT is helping people to meet also.
No, I actually met him previously also. I did previous time.
You don't have to boast about your grammar so much. Huh? Same class, same section? No. Good. He's also from Podna, no? You are? APJ?
No one knew horizons.
New Horizons. So now you know what is the difference between a disease-causing organism. If I talk about protozoa, that's a vector or a disease-causing organism.
disease causing.
Protozoa is not a vector, that's an agent. If I talk about a virus, that's an agent. But the organism which carries the virus, that's a vector. Housefly can carry the virus, cockroaches can carry the bacteria. So these are vectors. The last category that we are talking about is the process of during the exchange of the reproductive cells, gametes. Again, certain group of diseases may happen. And what are some of the common ones that you have to talk about? We have to write down some examples also. Examples are known as syphilis and warts, and gonorrhea is also there, but that is not there in your syllabus right now. So we are talking about these category of diseases known as sexually transmitted diseases. Sexually transmitted diseases, and what are such common examples? Syphilis, warts, and gonorrhea. Syphilis, warts, gonorrhea, and even AIDS. You have to take down this example, which is important for you right now. AIDS is also a sexually transmitted diseases where by the exchange of the body fluids, by the exchange of the blood, etc., such type of diseases can get transmitted. So we talk about some of those major categories, how different type of diseases can get transmitted. Now, when we are talking about manifestation, what is the meaning of the word manifestation? Manifestation means by looking into the condition of the body. Now say whenever we go to the doctor sometimes makes an assessment, no, ki, something like this must have happened to you, so go for such and such tests. Does the doctor ever tell us ki whatever type of test in medical science is possible, keep on doing everything? No, he would give us or she would tell us ki there's 3-4 tests you do and then come, let's see. So how can they assess? Or we also, say suppose now, roughly you have some headache and running nose. You have some headache and running nose, but no fever, no high fever, no breathlessness, etc. Today, we are more or less convinced that if it is just only a little bit of headache and running nose, it must be just viral fever or viral infection, influenza. So immediately we will not go rushing for a test and etc. No, but just few months back, roughly some year back, when people were suffering from breathlessness and high fever, it was indicating that there must be that scary viral infection, and immediately people used to run for some tests and hospitalization. So yes, so now we understand no, that if there is rapid oxygen deficiency in the body and breathlessness, then that indicates something. And if it is just running nose and little bit of headache, that indicates something else. If I talk about that a child is having some pain in the stomach, and if I talk about another child who has watery eyes, are we able to understand some roughly what must have happened to that child who is complaining of stomach ache? Maybe that person must be having some indigestion, food poisoning, etc. And the person who is, or the child who is having some running, watery eyes and some redness of the eye, maybe some viral infection of the eye, something like conjunctivitis. So now Are we not able to roughly understand by looking at some of the external manifestation कि क्या हो सकता है? If there's a stomach ache, क्या हो सकता है? If there's a pain in the headache, if there's a pain in the head, extreme headache is there, followed by fever, followed by breathlessness, क्या हो सकता है? If there are some rashes in the skin and too itchy, क्या हो सकता है? If the person is coughing persistently and blood coming out, क्या हो सकता है? So this is what is called manifestation. That is what is called manifestation. By the manifestation, doctors can also understand which part of the organ, which part of the body may have a problem. A person goes to the doctor complaining that whenever she takes in her meals, whenever she takes in her food, the food is not getting digested properly, especially when she takes in milk and milk products. So the doctor may assess, maybe the woman must be having some problems with her liver or gallbladder. इसीलिए milk and milk products is not getting digested properly. A person goes to the doctor complaining excessive pain in the back region and low urination. The doctor would understand that that person must be having some kidney problems. A woman goes to the doctor complaining about excessive pain in the knee. The doctor understands that that may be a case of the bone disorder, arthritis, etc., etc. So what is the summary I'm trying to tell you? I'm trying to tell you there are so many different type of discomfort people suffer from. But what is the symptom? What are the manifestations? Usse, which part of the body is affected? A rough assessment doctors can do. And then to make it confirm, how do they confirm? How do they confirm? By giving us some tests. They would ask us, do and this test, and then come with the report. Now that they see the report, yes, most of the time, whatever they must have assessed happens to be true from the report that they see. And then they start the treatment. You go to the doctor and complain about headache, immediately will the doctor give you a whole lot of medicines and treatment? Generally not. Generally not. So that is what we are going to talk about, manifestations. But if I talk about manifestations, there are two categories. I'm talking about manifestations here. And the moment I talk about manifestations, there are two categories of manifestations. One is the common manifestation. What is common manifestation? I may talk about common manifestation, something like fever. Can you name 5 diseases जिसमें fever होता है? Typhoid, fever होता है. Malaria, fever होता है. COVID, now you know, उसमें भी तो fever होता है. Influenza है, उसमें भी fever होता है. A person who is having kidney infection, उनको भी fever होता है. So tuberculosis है, उनको भी fever होता है. Pneumonia है, उनको भी fever होता है. So now that I talk about, just because the person is having fever, will the doctor ever start giving medicines for 15 days? No, the doctor will first try to assess वो fever किस लिए हो रहा है, which part of the body getting affected. So fever is a common manifestation. Again, I may talk about cough. Cough is a common manifestation of diseases like pneumonia, tuberculosis, influenza, COVID, but treatment for COVID and pneumonia is not the same. Treatment for COVID is even more higher. Agar a person is suffering only from pneumonia, few medicines. COVID hai to some injections hai, steroids hai, so many things are there. So when I talk about a person just suffering from influenza, शायद इतना medication की जरूरत भी नहीं है. But a person who is suffering from COVID and a person who is suffering from tuberculosis and pneumonia, initial symptoms are same. Initial symptoms are the same. So this is what we understand as common manifestations. This is what we understand as common manifestations. But after that, when we are talking about some specific manifestations, let us talk about some specific manifestations. What do we understand by specific manifestations now? Say suppose I am talking about low sugar concentration, high sugar concentration in the blood. When I talk about high sugar concentration, hey, Arman, Why in every lecture of 45 minutes I have to pronounce your name 45 times? You are not doing anything and you are not letting others also do anything. That is my problem. See that in any of the lectures. Now that I don't need to pronounce their names. I should not pronounce your names unless and until I want to ask you something. Now, specific.
When will high blood pressure, hypertension be manifestations?
High blood pressure is basically a specific manifestation. क्योंकि high blood pressure अगर है, so this is indicative of just one or two disorder. Something same I'm writing here. I'm talking about some tests, pathological tests, and then high concentration of sugar in the blood. But when I'm talking about high concentration of sugar in the blood, it will be associated with only one particular type of a disease. And now I have to match with this only. Can I talk about that this is associated with diarrhea, dysentery, cholera, chickenpox, etc.? No. ये सारे diseases में हाँ fever हो सकता है. But no, something like high concentration of blood, high concentration of sugar in the blood persistently, नहीं ये तो नहीं हो सकता. तो अगर ये है persistently in a person's blood for a long time, then it is understood that the person is suffering from diabetes. Can you give me one more example if you have understood? Specific manifestation का एक और example बता सकते हो? हाँ, hypertension, consistent high blood pressure. Normally हमारा blood pressure कितना रहना चाहिए पता है? 120/80 normal. Generally नहीं रहता है. Even अरमान का भी blood pressure अभी थोड़ा सा बड़ा होगा, 125/85 होगा, क्योंकि थोड़ा सा वो upset है अभी मुझसे. But never mind. When we are talking, but अगर अब तो जैसे मैं निकल जाऊंगी उसका blood pressure 120/80 फिर से आ जाएगा. So now that we are talking, this is normal. But जिनका blood pressure persistently 150, 160, 170/95, 100, high blood pressure. High blood pressure, that is, no. Take an example, take a question there, give 3 examples each. Write 3 examples or give 3, किसका है ये? 3 examples each for 3 examples each for common and specific manifestations. 3 examples each for common and specific manifestation. आया समझ में क्या करना है? You will write this way, make a table, common manifestation, specific manifestation, 1, 2, 3 with examples. ठीक है? If you have understood, let me see how much that this part is clear. If not, again we'll take up those examples.
ACPS में जाओ कि 3 नंबर.
सर मेरा
किसका हो गया तो जा सकते हैं ना.
लेट्स
और तुम लोग